Hello, I'm going to be talking to you about God's history in our city. You may have already heard the segment that Joette spoke of about finding out the history, God's history in your city. I'm going to talk a little bit about our journey as far as personally in the city of Wilmington, how we did that. So it might give you some little bit of practical ins and outs as to what what Joette was talking about and referring to. As we began to pray for our city and ask God for His heart for our city, during one of my personal prayer times, the Lord really highlighted the founders of our city and the people who actually came and set foot and really laid hold of the city and the county here, Clinton County in Wilmington, Ohio. And it was founded by Quakers, two groups of Quakers, one that came from Pennsylvania, and then a group that came up from from the Carolinas. And as I was praying, the Lord really spoke to my heart that we were the answer to their prayers, because they were a faithful, righteous, praying people. And when things began to digress in our city, they were praying for God's presence to invade, and yet they didn't really get to see that. They were beginning to see sin creep in and people not doing anything about it. And so as we began to pray, and we heard the Lord really speak into our heart that these were a faithful, righteous, praying people, we just agreed with Him that we would be the answer to their prayer, and that we would step up and be that remnant that God was looking for. One of the founders' grandson, actually son, his name is Isaac Harvey, and Isaac and Sarah Harvey are amazing couple. And we found out that they had actually gone to visit Abraham Lincoln. So we have a history here of someone who was a Quaker, a friend who had come up from the Carolinas to flee the oppression of slavery. They had underground railroads, etc. here. And so Isaac was out plowing the ground, and this was in the mid-1800s during Abraham Lincoln's presidency. And as he was plowing the ground, he says he heard the Lord say to him, "Go visit the president." And so he went inside and he told his mother, or his wife, we're to go see the president. And she said, "Well, who sends us?" And Isaac says, "The Lord." And she said, "Well, then we'll go." And so they hopped on a train and they went to Washington, D.C. Again, now these are Quakers who, came from North Carolina, who really, they didn't go outside of Wilmington, but they hopped on a train. They went to Washington, D.C., and as they got off the plane, they saw a man that was standing at a streetlight, and this man happened to be the Secretary of Treasury, Salmon P. Chase, and he was also an Ohioan, but they didn't know that, and they just went up to him and said, "How might we see the president?" And he said, "Why?" And they explained to him why they had come, and he said, "Meet me back here tomorrow, and I'll get you in to see the president." And so they did, and sure enough, he got them in to see the president. And the president was so encouraged by Isaac and Sarah in their visit that at the time he was mulling over, does he go on with the Emancipation Proclamation? What is he to do in this issue of slavery and the abolition of slavery? And after Isaac and Sarah's visit, he wrote a letter to go with Isaac that he could show to the church back here in Wilmington that he had visited the president. And in that letter, it says, Abraham Lincoln says that he was encouraged by friends Isaac and Sarah Harvey, and there was more to it, but that he was encouraged by what they had to say. And it was the next day that he penned the Emancipation Proclamation. So that's a history that we have here. And so we've agreed with the Lord that that same freedom that these friends were able to go and encourage our president in at that time, that we would see that happening in our city. There's so many little details. If you just wait on the Lord, that He'll impress upon you and He'll encourage you. Another one that we had, as we were praying, all of us who were praying would begin to see double digits, triple digits on the clocks, like 111 or 222 or 333. And as we were doing that, we were all talking together saying, "Wow, what is this?" And we asked the Lord. We don't ask the Lord often enough. "Lord, what are you saying? You're getting our attention about this. What are you saying?" And we felt the Lord say to us, "Remind me that it's time. My set time to favor you has come. It's time. So when we would see those digits on the clock, we would just say, Lord, it's time. So one day, one of my prayer partners, we were out driving along the city, because we would do this every week. We go drive around the city and pray. And as we stopped to pray, we felt the Lord say, bury your watch. Bury your watch at the entrance of the city where the railroad comes through, where the engineer sees Wilmington. And I said, okay, Lord, that sounds kind of strange. Why would I bury my watch? But, it takes this childlike faith to say, okay, Lord, I don't really understand what you're doing or why, but I really believe this is something to you, so I'll do it. Now, that sounds absurd, and the Lord may, say some things at times that you don't understand, because his ways are so much higher than our ways. But I obeyed. And I told my prayer partner, I said, I feel like the Lord is telling me to bury my watch and then to declare that it's time for Wilmington. At the same time, the Lord had already given her a scripture to confirm that. And the scripture is in Psalm 102. And it says, Lord, you are enthroned forever. Your fame endures to all generations. You will arise and have compassion on Zion. And he had us where it says Zion to put Wilmington there. And so we said, you will have compassion on Wilmington, for it is time to show her favor. The appointed time has come, for your servants take delight in its stones and favor its dust. Then the nations will fear the name of the Lord, and all the kings of the earth your glory. For the Lord will rebuild Wilmington. He will appear in his glory, and he will pay attention to the prayer of the destitute, and will not despise their prayer. And my prayer partner had just received that at the same time that I was feeling impressed by the Lord to bury my watch and declare to Wilmington, it's time, that the set time of the Lord's favor has come. So I encourage you, wait on the Lord. Ask him to show you about your city, the specifics about your city, and he will, because he loves your city. And he wants that city, again, like we said earlier, to become his son's inheritance.